what's up, guys? This is the Inferno Combat Podcast, and I'm your host, Hadrigon, joined here by,
Best boxing.
and today we're going to be covering all the combat sports news that's been happening, rounds up of the events that have passed, and potential fights. So, starting at UFC, best boxing, what's our first topic?
UFC, well, I think we should talk about UFC 259. Overall, UFC 259 was a great UFC event, probably the best UFC event that we had in recent years. Talking about the main event had 3 title fights.
Yeah.
You had Peter Yan versus Sterling. Then co-main was Amanda Nunes against Megan Anderson. And then main event was Israel Adesanya against Jan Blachowicz. Well, let's talk about the Peter Yan versus Sterling fight. What did you think of that fight?
I actually thought it was a really good fight before all the controversy. I thought that Sterling started out good, and then he kind of used all his energy, and Peter Yan was beginning to just tear him apart. And then, of course, had the whole incidents about the Peter Yan's corner giving him incorrect instructions. So overall, it was a good fight. It's kind of, to me, it's a bit BS that someone ended up getting the championship belt from a disqualification. But yeah, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think it was a great fight. To be honest, I think it was kind of one-sided. You could see that Peter Yan obviously was the better man, and he had much more precise striking and takedown. He took Sterling down a lot of times. But talking about that illegal knee, even though his corner told him to do that, he should have realized, oh no, bro, the guy's on the floor. He has his hand on the floor, so that's legal. I shouldn't do that. But yet he still proceeded. I don't know. I think he did that out of frustration because Sterling was clinching quite a lot, so he wasn't letting the fight flow. So I think that was frustration. But there's a lot of controversy that Sterling's faking it. Do you think he was faking it? Do you think it was real?
I believe that his initial reaction was real, like when he went to the ground and he was in pain. I believe he played it a bit because when someone gets knocked out or gets really badly injured, normally the memory of it's not too clear. But him remembering everything that happened so clearly, it makes me think maybe he wasn't as bad as he says he is. Even though I think that his initial reaction was completely real because that was a hard knee to the face. But I don't know if it was enough to make him on the ground and all that shit for so long. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I do think the initial reaction was real. And even though from watching it live, you couldn't see, but after watching the replay, you could see that knee landed clean on the chin. And then obviously he was really hurt because I think dude really tried to get up and he couldn't because his legs were wobbly and stuff at the beginning. But then all the lying around and rolling around, I think that's a bit theatrical. If you're that badly hurt, you're not gonna be rolling around like a football player, And I mean, I don't know. It was kind of weird. But I'm not denying that he wasn't hurt because that was a hard shot to the chin. I'm surprised he didn't get knocked out, to be honest. I think that was a hard one.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I can't blame him for the decision of not wanting to continue the fight because I mean, if you're that fucked up, also that's the kind of shot that you don't really recover from. So for me, it's the outcome wasn't ideal, but it's still a good fight, and I don't think Sterling was in the wrong for what he did. I think that Peter Yan just needs to be more careful, about actually following the rules.
Yeah. I guess his nickname No Mercy showed in that fight. Man hit him with the Mortal Kombat No Mercy. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of annoying because it's a super weird way to win the belt. It was a title fight, and winning the belt like that, I don't know. It feels like it's not deserved because he didn't deserve it. Peter Yan deserved the win, but I don't know. It's kind of weird.
The momentum was completely going in Peter Yan's way. Maybe Sterling could have made a comeback. You never know, but I really feel like he wasn't going to.
Yeah, neither. Then obviously you had the co-main event, the women's fight, Amanda Nunes against Megan Anderson. That was another amazing fight. I
Yeah,
was actually very shocked when I watched it. It ended really, really quickly. And to be honest, like Nunes was in a whole lot of disadvantage. Her opponent was way taller than her, way heavier than her, and had a bigger reach than her. But still, that like she canceled out the advantages and just went right on the attack. That was an amazing performance. What do you think of it?
yeah. I was really surprised by it as well because I thought Megan Anderson with her reach, with her striking ability, I thought she would cause Amanda Nunes some problems, but quite the opposite. Amanda Nunes caught her early, found her range, and just finished her off. It just shows you that Amanda Nunes is just that good because Megan Anderson is elite. Like she is a great fighter. It's just that like when you have like an athlete which has that kind of level of greatness, even though the opponents are good, they make it look easy. And that's exactly what Amanda Nunes did. Nothing away from the opponent, but it just shows how good Amanda Nunes is.
Yeah.
So, what do you think Amanda Nunes should do next? Like, if you're like her advisor right now.
Um, I don't know really because she's champ at two divisions, and I to be honest, I don't see any opponent that could pose her trouble. Like she fought the best and won against the best. She fought against Ronda Rousey and she won by knockout. Technically, every single fight that she had, she won by TKO. That's why it was so surprising because this fight I was expecting a knockout, but instead we saw a submission, something that I never saw from Amanda Nunes. And it was a hard
Mhm.
submission as well. It was like a triangle choke from a really, really tough position.
Yeah,
So it shows that like Amanda Nunes, not only she's a great striker, she can submit people from hard positions, which makes her a very complete fighter, and that's why she's called the GOAT. But in terms of her career moving on, people saying that she should fight men. It's so stupid saying that she should fight men because obviously that's such a huge disadvantage in terms of power. A man could easily knock her out with
yeah,
one with one punch. Goofy stuff. Sorry, my dog. But with one punch. But I don't know what. Technically, I think a rematch with Cyborg would be tough. I don't know. What about you?
yeah. I think a rematch with Cyborg would be a good option for her, but I also feel like Clarissa Shields is a good potential fight for her. But really, like, I can't see anyone beating Nunes right now. I feel like going to the men's game would be kind of stupid because it kind of takes away from what she's achieved. Like, she is the number one person in the female ranks. Like, I feel like just mixing up the male and female ranks, it's like it would be like mixing up weight classes in boxing. It's just not, or like in boxing and UFC, it's just not exactly like the most fair thing since like men and women are kind of naturally have different amounts of strength and shit. But yeah, I really like honestly right now for Amanda Nunes, like I feel like if I was her, I'd want her to like go try to reach a third weight class, even though that's risky. Just because like I feel like there's what else is there for her to do like in the two weight classes she's in? Like there really isn't like I mean I guess there's a few big names out there, but there's no like fight where you're like wow, I wonder if Nunes can win this. But yeah,
Yeah, I
what do you
agree with
think?
you. Yeah, I think moving up in weight classes is definitely a good step up because she's dominating the two classes that she's currently in. No opponent challenges her to a fight, but maybe if she steps up in weight, then that'll be a tougher fight, which will be good. Will be more entertaining.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you never know. You never know if she's just gonna knock everyone there, spark out. But yeah. So moving on to the actual main events, Israel Adesanya versus Juan Boyovich. I'm pretty butchered that name. But yeah, what do you think of that? I was personally really surprised that Adesanya lost. What were like your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, like to be honest, when I was watching it, I was shaking. Like my whole body was shaking just because I would have never thought that the Sanya would go to light heavyweight. That's such a huge step up, and to go to fight
Mm.
against Jan Blachowicz, like that dude's the champion. But yeah, Izzy did really really well in the first round. He established the range. His footwork was way better than Jean's. His striking was more precise because it's well
Mm,
known that Izzy has a very precise striking.
yeah,
And yeah, he really defended really well the takedowns because dude tried to do a takedown in the first round and he defended consistently throughout round three, and then boom, he got taken down. I think takedowns played a huge role in that fight because
mm,
Izzy stayed at the exact same weight while Jean was obviously heavier. So if Jean took him to the ground, then there could have that was the fight ended basically. This dude just put all of his weight on top of Izzy, and there was no way he could have gotten up. But in terms of the ground game, Izzy was doing better than him. What about
yeah.
you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that as soon as like Juan Boy, I, I can't say his name, but as soon as Adesanya's opponents, kind of went on him and started, showing him, this is not like boxing. These weight classes are actually big differences. I felt like as soon as Adesanya felt the weight, he kind of already lost in a way, just because like the whole time Juan Boyovich was trying to get the takedowns and he couldn't get to Izzy. Izzy was making it competitive. The rounds, some rounds he was winning, some rounds, the other guy was winning. But I feel like as soon as like Adesanya let himself get onto the ground, he kind of like forsaken himself because then he just told his opponent, okay, you can get me down, you can do it again. And
Yeah.
Adesanya, even though he's not bad by any means on the ground game. It's not his speciality. So you really saw like that kind of weakness from Adesanya when it came to trying to get up from the takedowns.
For real though. And I don't know why, but Adesanya decided not to put that much weight when he faced this dude Dejan. Like he stayed at almost at the exact same weight as middleweight, and that right off the bat gave him a huge disadvantage. Like, bro, when you move up in weight, right, you have to put on some weight just because you can't face a guy that's 20 kg heavier than you and expect to do good, especially in the ground game. Because if you have a guy on the ground game on top of you, which is heavier, he's basically putting all of that extra pounds on you. And yeah, I know it's just gonna tire you out trying to stand up. Just gonna try and tire you out. But yeah, thing was a good match overall. Um, I don't know. Izzy said that if he was to win against Jean, he would have tried to face Jon Jones. But to be honest,
Yeah.
like facing Jon Jones isn't the greatest option. I think he should go back to middleweight, or he should put on more weight if he wants to stay at light heavyweight. But definitely don't stay at the same weight in light heavyweight because he doesn't stand a chance against anyone. What do you think?
Yeah. I feel like it was also really bold in the move for Adesanya to go straight to light heavyweights, like straight after his fight against Paulo Costa, and not just go against the light heavyweight and get used to the weight, but he went straight up against the top guy. So you got to respect that. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I feel like the fact he was so competitive, even against the top guy at light heavyweight, shows he's a problem for the guys. But I feel like he'd be more dominant at middleweight, so he should stay at middleweights. But he's very much in the same situation as Amanda Nunes when it comes to like middleweight. Like he's kind of cleared out the whole division, so it'll be interesting to see what he does next for sure.
For sure, yeah.
So moving on now to boxing. There's been quite a few boxing events recently. Of course, like a really big one that was recent was I know you've not seen it, but the Chocolate Tito fight, which is very controversial. And even though like the fight itself was interesting, one of the things which is really a good takeaway from it is that the organizing bodies of boxing have started banning judges who have very questionable scorecards. What do you think about that? Like the WBA finally taking action on that.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good thing because I don't know. I've heard that the last judge scored it in a very controversial manner, and that happens before, like when that judge scored the Mayweather against Canelo fight a draw. that was a very shocking decision. Like there was no way in hell that was counted as a draw. And
Yeah,
it's good because the boxing associations actually is like, yo, hey, we need to watch out of these guys because they can potentially ruin champions with this
yeah.
stupid calls. But speaking of this fight, because as you said, I haven't watched it, but I know you have. Just give me like a breakdown. What did you think of this fight?
It was a very, very competitive fight. Like there's no like clear winner. Even though I thought that Chocolatito won, it was like it broke a bunch of records for punches thrown, but basically it was a back and forth. It was a fight which was literally all inside the pockets. Like
Mm.
the definition of a slugfest. Lots of punches thrown. I felt like Chocolatito started strong, and in the strata it looked like he was going to win the fights in the middle part. And Chocolatito pretty much, if the fight was broken down to three parts, Chocolatito won the first and the third part. He came out strong in the beginning and then left strong. But Estrada won some of the middle parts. It was very like it wasn't too technical, but it was very much I land and then you landing back and counter punching. It was like watching a competitive match of ping pong, which is back and forth
Yeah.
constantly. And there was times when you're thinking, oh, the crazy thing is that the thing which is most impressive to me about it is that they were fighting the 12th round at this crazy pace as if it was the first rounds. That's the thing which really impressed me is that it felt like there was no warm up to it. It just started and it was just action focused the whole
Mm.
fights. So yeah, it was a very very good fight. Probably the best in my opinion, the best fight the zone has ever done. So that was really good. And also there's now been news that Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua have both agreed to a 2 fights deal agreements. What do you think of that?
Yeah, like it's definitely exciting. This is a once in a generation lifetime event for unification of the heavyweight belts. It's definitely obviously something that's huge in the making. Obviously, the price money is going to be huge. It's something around like 200 million pounds. I've heard in the
Mm.
Daily Mail, which is an insane figure right there. It's good that I guess it's good that's a two fight deal because we're gonna see a rematch as well. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I don't think it should be a 2 fight deal just because that means they're only gonna be facing each other this year. Just kind of a shame because I was hoping for potential opponents such as Andy Ruiz Jr. and Deontay Wilder. But yeah, that doesn't really matter. I still can't believe this is happening. It's yeah, it's really big, and now they're just trying to find the location. They said somewhere in the Middle East. Seems like Saudi Arabia's the lucky country because that's where the money is. So I'm lucky as well because I might be able to go to it. Because I won't miss this fight for sure. But yeah, this will be a huge fight in the history of
Sure. Yeah.
boxing. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is a huge, probably the biggest fight one can make in boxing right now, from like active boxers. I actually think it's bigger than Spence versus Crawford. Like it's huge. And but yeah, I agree with you. I don't like the idea of them only fighting themselves because lots of rumors it's gonna take place in July, which probably means the second fight will probably take place in 2022. So it means that till then, people like Usyk, Andy Ruiz, Wilder, you know, even if like of other big players at heavyweight aren't really getting the chance to get a shot at the title. So from that sense, I don't like it. But at the same time, it'll be good to finally see who the number one guy is at heavyweights. So I'm really excited personally for this fight. So what about you? Who do you think takes the fight? Who do you think wins? Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua? That's the big question.
That is a big question in reality, and that's true as well. I don't know. Normally on paper and in reality, I would say that Tyson Fury wins over Anthony Joshua any day, just because I don't see Anthony Joshua able to knock out Tyson Fury. If Deontay Wilder wasn't able to do it, then Joshua obviously won't because he doesn't have the exact same power. That being said, it's good that Anthony Joshua, after the Ruiz fight, kind of changed his mentality, and that meant that his
Yeah.
fight game changed as well. Became more aggressive. He's not fighting in the exact same box pattern, um,
Mm-hmm.
the robot pattern, which was kind of weird. That's why he probably lost the first Andy Ruiz fight. Um, but yeah, I think Tyson Fury was gonna win. I don't think Anthony Joshua would be able to outbox him. The best chance that he has, he needs to like make sure the fight goes longer, because
Mm-hmm.
in the early rounds, then that's his chance. As Tyson Fury being the older guy, he's gonna fade obviously and get tired. But because Anthony Joshua is the younger guy and fresh, then boom, he's gonna have to take the opportunity. So yeah, what do you think about this fight? Yo,
Yo. Yeah,
what
sorry,
do you think of this fight?
yeah, sorry. To give some explanation, I'm kind of like really ill. I'm like running on a bit of low sleep, so that's why your boy's
So
stacking a
good,
bit.
so good.
But yeah, um, I do agree. I think that on paper Tyson Fury should win, but you never know in heavyweight boxing. Like I thought Anthony Joshua would beat Andy Ruiz, and look what happened. So I think the heavyweight division is like the only division where it really matters when you say one punch can change everything. Because technically it's always the case, but in heavyweights, like any punch can just like knock you out. So
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to that. Sucks for everyone else, but it's gonna be so good. Like to finally see an undisputed heavyweight champion. Like I'm pretty sure we haven't had one since like the 90s of like Lennox Lewis. So that'd be
yeah.
really good to see. And then before that, like Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson, and yeah,
It's definitely once in a generation, lifetime event. You don't want to miss this. It's gonna be huge.
yeah, it really is. Okay, so moving on to another boxer who's not as big as Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, but certainly getting there. What do you think about the news that Tank's potentially thinking about going up to 140 to get one of the WBA belts there?
It's kind of definitely interesting because Tank is a small guy. He's not that tall, but
Yeah.
I just saw like a picture on his Instagram and he put a lot of muscles, and that reminds me of a young Mike Tyson, the exact same intimidating aura
Mm-hmm.
and devastating knockout power. It doesn't matter if he's tall or not, though. The only thing that matters is his movement inside the ring and his knockout power. And to be honest, yeah, I think if man wants to go to 140 to win, then that's exactly what he's gonna do. He's gonna go there, he's gonna knock the guy out, he's gonna take the WBA belt and then, potentially stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no point staying right now at the lightweight because he's
Yeah.
already dominating. He needs some other challenges because apparently no one really wants to fight him right now at lightweight, which is kind of a shame because that would have been really good fights like Devin Haney against Tank or Teofimo against Tank or Loma against Tank. Those would have
Ryan
been really
Garcia
good
against
fights.
Tank. That's a big
Ryan
fight too.
Garcia against Tank. Yeah, exactly. That was potentially in the making, but then Garcia decided not to. He wanted to fight Pacquiao, but that didn't happen again. So man's luck isn't the great. But yeah, I think it would be good to take this challenge and see if man's the real deal or not,
Yeah, I
because he
mean,
needs to step up in weight and see what's gonna happen.
yeah, I feel like also like Tank. I feel like this is his chance really to try to become a free weight division champion. Like, if he can get a title at 140, like a world title, and get it to 135, he can establish his legacy. So, it's good for him because he's a bit older than even though he's still a young guy, he's a bit older than the young guys at lightweight. So it's good to see he's like increasing his pace of like going and facing tough competition and trying
Yeah.
to reach goals faster. So in that sense, that's good. I mean, he doesn't need to fight someone like Ryan Garcia right now because Ryan Garcia doesn't have a belt. So I kind of
Mhm.
get why he didn't do it, but I'm pretty sure there's like a saying in boxing, which is like you can't get mad at someone for not fighting someone if they're fighting someone better than them.
Yeah.
And even though Garcia is probably better than the guy he's gonna fight, Barrios. Barrios does hold like a semi-world title, so can't
It's
blame him
better
for.
than nothing.
Yeah, true, and it means that he gets a shot at the winner of Taylor Ramirez before Teofimo does, which means if he beats Taylor Ramirez, that's a big if because they're both huge at 140. They're like pretty much natural welterweights. If he
Yeah.
beats one of them, the winner of their fights, he could potentially have a massive two-weight division undisputed championship with Teofimo Lopez if he deals a business with Devin Haney, or if Devin Haney wins, Devin Haney versus Tank at 140. That'll be huge, huge fight
That
there.
would be indeed, yeah. That's no joke. Like it's hard to accomplish. But
Yeah.
I think he would be able, like if he's dedicated to the sport and puts in the work, he will. He has a great team behind him that's pushing him.
Mm-hmm.
He's also really talented. He's a great boxer, young boxer. So yeah, I think he can do it, but it's very, very hard because the opposition is extremely hard.
Yeah. So what do you think of Jon Jones thinking about moving up to heavyweight in UFC?
Um, yeah, it's definitely shocking. Like I didn't know that until you told me. I don't know. Because as you said, this is not boxing. There's a huge difference in weight,
Yeah.
and going to heavyweight is definitely great for the sport of UFC because it's becoming more entertaining. I don't know if it's like a quicker step up for Jones than it should be because Jones hasn't fought in a long time. I don't know, like I haven't heard his name in
Yeah.
ages.
I'm pretty sure the last guy he fought was the guy that Adesanya, the guy who beat Adesanya, beat him. It was like I can't remember his name, but yeah, it's been a while since Jon Jones has fought, so it'd be good to see him
Yeah,
get.
it's been like a year or something like that, something maybe longer than a year. But it's
Yeah,
definitely tough because the competition, you don't really want to mess with heavyweights in UFC. You have people like Francis Ngannou, Stipe, which is the champion.
talking about that
And he's
actually, Stipe and Francis Ngannou are gonna have a rematch. What do you think of that fight?
that's definitely the best rematch that the UFC has produced. We're talking about the most dominant UFC heavyweight in the history of UFC against the most feared power puncher in the history of the UFC. Like it's gonna be a war. Even in the
Yeah,
first fight, it was just insane, non-stop action. Great, great stuff by both men. Kind of suck though because UFC rounds are so long; they're 5 minutes each. That means by the
mm-hmm.
time you get to the third round, both men are tired, so they start to slow down a bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, the first three rounds are definitely gonna be action packed, and Francis Ngannou, as I said, is the most feared power puncher, and he has the best knockout ratio in the heavyweight division. So he just needs one punch to connect, and that's his GG. He can do it. But Stipe as well, man, like he also has some serious knockout power, and his defensive work is just crazy. Like it's out of this world. It's definitely a great fight, though. What do you think?
yeah, I agree. I think what makes it more interesting as well is the winner potentially fighting Jon Jones. It's a very good match, as you said, about the most feared versus the top ranks, and leaves any doubts and any questions away as to who the top dog is. So whoever wins this one deserves to get Jon Jones, and I'm pretty sure that whoever wins that fight of Jon Jones deserves to be number one pound for pound. Because I mean, like,
Yeah.
what are people doing right now to beat that? Like Khabib retired, Adesanya just lost. Like there's no one else like, and
Yeah.
Nunes is of course in women. So I think like it's a terrific achievement. I think that yeah, I'm just looking forward to these fights. UFC's been doing some great fights recently. What about you?
Yeah, it's definitely like I agree with you. Jon Jones, to be honest, I still think he should be number one pound for pound because, as
Mm-hmm.
you said, Khabib retired, and he was pound for pound until Khabib retired. So I don't even think Khabib should be in the discussion anymore because he's not planning on coming back. I don't understand why the UFC are still keeping him in the ranks. It's kind
Yeah,
of
and has him
annoying.
with he still has the belts, which is very weird. I'm pretty sure that Dana
Exactly.
White's just
Yeah.
holding out hope that Khabib will somehow come back. But talking about like Dana White, he's been having some feud with Jake Paul recently. And talking about Jake Paul, the event he's having in Triller is actually pretty stacked. Did you see that? Like Antonio Tarver is coming out of retirement to face a former UFC heavyweight champion in a boxing match.
And you say it's pretty stacked. That's a major understatement. The correct word is legendary. Because this guy, let's face it, Jake Paul has some legendary like undercards. You know, first he was the undercard of the Mike Tyson fight, which is freaking mind-blowing to fight on the exact same card as Mike Tyson and Jon Jones Jr. Like, holy shit.
Yeah,
and then this fight. Yeah, what are you saying?
He was also like Demetrius Andrade fought on his undercard as well, which is crazy since, you know, he's going with the world title as a middleweight. Yeah. So that'll be interesting. Yeah. And also, like, in the fight card is Regis Prograis, which is going against Ivan Regvich, I think that's his name, which is actually pretty underrated fight. Like, Ivan Regvich is moving down from welterweight to be a big guy. I'm pretty sure, like, the last fight I watched of him, he gave Danny Garcia a lot of problems. So it'll be interesting to see, like, you know, because this is the kind of test Regis Prograis needs to, like, be like, go up for another title shot. So it's a really good card, actually. Yeah. What do you think about the whole card in general?
You know, it's kind of crazy because Jake Paul is getting these beasts cards. But if you look at it, like actual boxing champions don't have that insane of a card of their undercard. Like, their undercard isn't stacked, which is kind of weird because you would expect like actual pro boxers, even though Jake is considered now a pro boxer since he made his pro debut. But if you look at like champions, they don't really have done great undercards. Like, even though the fighters that are fighting on the undercard, mad respect to them, they're amazing. They're not like legends of the sport like Jake Paul. And I don't know, I think it's kind of like an insult to the sport of boxing in a way. In a way, I don't think it's not. You know, it's mixed feeling. But it's great to see all of these legends coming back because it's kind of like an exhibition match, I guess, for them. You know, nothing to lose. But yeah, the whole card is great. And Jake Paul is actually gonna fight a pro fighter, you know, Ben Askren. We'll see if it's the real deal, if he can pull this off. And yeah, you know, we saw that Dana had a lot to say to Jake. Man betted $1 million that he's gonna lose. You know, I hope he doesn't do that because it's a huge risk factor. I wouldn't do that, especially not against Ben.
Yeah. No, but it feels like it's been more done to prove a point rather than anything. But yeah, I really believe that this is Jake Paul's big test to show if he's legit or not. And I do get, the mixed feelings about having all these like world champions like and stuff in the undercards. Like Devin Haney was in the undercard of Logan Paul, for instance. Like it's mixed feelings because at the same time they don't really deserve it, but at the same time it's, you know, entertainment. It's entertaining, like these YouTube fights, and they're bringing like, you know, a lot of eyes to sports and to the cards. So, you know, two-sided, you know, sword.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think that rounds up all of our topics for today. You got any last words? Best boxing?
Not really, you know, we're just hoping for a great year of combat. You know, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Curious to see if there's going to be any news on the Logan Paul against Floyd Mayweather fight, potential date. Yeah. But other than that, we're just waiting and enjoying some UFC and boxing.
Yeah, same here. I can't wait for that fight to be announced just because of like how weird and puzzling it is. I kind of just want to see what happens. It's like one of those weird ones which you know you shouldn't like, but you end up liking anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah. This has been Hadrigon. Peace out.
Peace, boys. You know, it's best boxing, and see you in the next one.
I'm gonna float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You can't hit what